I can only speak from personal experience, but I always had a childhood dream to go, and this is the last wilderness, and it's a land that's shared by all countries of the world. And to be there with 76 other women who have such an amazing background and life stories, science, and helping and protect sustainability. I think I just had expectations to grow, to learn, and to be inspired to actually have the motivation to keep doing what I'm doing.
Now, 76 women, or 76 people, I guess, all thinking about leadership and the roles they play would have been challenging. You were also an assistant to Fabienne Dattner, whose vision it was to put this together. Her leadership style during this was sorely tested. What do you think it exposed?
I think it's really the experience is kind of like a confluence of different rivers, right? And you have different person bringing their culture, their practice, things that have been helped in different contexts. And people come from all different walks of life, although they're all in science, some from industry, some from academia, and some from communications. So I think it actually exposes more questions than answers about there's no one unified leadership model. And in fact, that's actually a very male-dominated West-centric idea to have this unifying model, and we're all here to be trained like that. It's actually an opportunity for everyone to be reflective and to be able to grow and collaborate and also explore areas of themselves they didn't know. So I think it really exposed a lot about our past, the things we have experienced in our respective cultures and previous experiences, but also our hopes and how to actually be better and work together better.
Let's pick up on that point you made about different cultural experiences. I'm really fascinated to, from somebody like yourself from Beijing and from Chinese culture, what were the differences that you experienced among the different people on this trip?
I was the only Chinese participant in the first cohort, and I think my experience coming from the Chinese society, and I grew up in China going through public schools up until high school, was really in a more collective and community-minded setting, where on the ship in Antarctica, which is this very small space, everyone had so much opinion, and they all had ideas of how things should be run in a certain way. But I was actually trying to seek balance and harmony in a sense. And then I think that's when I realized that I have a tendency of wanting to seek this community consensus, but also avoiding conflict a little bit. But actually, it's also healthy to expose these different ideas, to have argument, to have things to be challenged. And I think just like it has left me a lot of things to think about and to keep on practicing later.
Do you think did you have discussions about whether women's leadership style differed from male leadership styles and whether the women had to become more like the men?
We definitely had. And I think some women have really practice it that way. A lot of discussion about lean in, about like being there at the leadership table, faking it until you make it, is that, we have to survive, and to be in some male-dominated world, you have to forget about your gender to actually reach a leadership position. But it's not always the best way. And I think we have witnessed a lot of challenges we're facing in today's world were a result of this systemic problem. So we actually, I think we want to collectively imagine a new world, and where women are at the leadership table, and actually there's more collaboration and there's more community-focused discussion, especially in science, in these areas that's really determining our future. So I think we had these discussions, and it's ongoing because Homeward Bound has had 4 voyages now to Antarctica, and there's 6 more to come. So it's going to be a very rich body of discussion, research, and conversations going onward.
The critical thing is, do you feel you're going to get a better seat at the table? Do you feel, what do you think holds women back in terms of being recognised in these critical STEM careers?
I think there's multiple things. There's the structural challenges about things around access to education for women, in particular cultural and country context. And there's also structural challenges around maternity leave, about balancing field work, research, perhaps starting their own research projects. And there's also perceived public media notion around where is the role, like how should a scientist look like, and I think this has gradually changed over the past 20, 30 years, but still I think people don't always expect or see female representation of science leaders in popular media, and hopefully this is gradually changing. But even some places we have laws and regulations, but they're not reinforced right. So it's such a diverse topic and with lots of multiple challenges, and women have to also support each other and be the example and show each other strength, and how to actually help mentor younger women so that the pipe doesn't leak, whether
Yes.
it is after high school or after maternity leave, after PhDs.
It strikes me that throughout this whole COVID crisis, I've hardly seen one woman really, leading a response in almost any country that I can think of.
I think in some countries, like in Germany or in New Zealand, where you have female leaders, they have been responding to the crisis.
But not the scientific response, if you know what I mean, or the health response.
Yeah. I think it's maybe this also expose the structural challenges right now we have, right? And it's also, scientists have predicted the pandemic, and also keeps warning us about the challenge of climate change and biodiversity loss. But we right now keep facing the impact of it rather than having a coordinated response and trying to really solve it from the roots.
Yeah. China, of course, is pushing forward with bold ambitions for climate change, and that's to be carbon neutral by 2060. Do you think that's good enough? Do you think it's achievable?
I think it's achievable, and I think it must be good. And I think it must be achieved, because I think there needs to be a country that actually set the leadership role for climate change, when we're actually witnessing no other countries in the world willing to take such initiative. And the idea about peaking carbon emissions before 2030 was announced before around the Paris Agreement time. So I think it's actually I think China needs to be on track of this, and there's lots of discussions about moving the consumption and the economic model towards a more climate resilient way. And as China is hosting the Biodiversity Summit next year, I think there will be more public interest and mobilization around this, and certainly we hope to be part of it.
Lovely to talk to you, really great. I'm fascinated to continue to watch how those programs play out. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, go see the film.